was saying, we want to talk today about feasting, but not just feasting, about living a life of acceptance of others. So who likes a good party, right? Yeah. This is the participatory part of my message. What do people like? Barbecues, right? Birthday parties, pool parties, maybe not today. Yesterday, definitely. Beach party, where my family's at, and I'm heading back to. But yeah, we love to go to parties, and we love to have parties, but I think we love to have parties with the people we know and the people we're comfortable with. And we want to be with people who we accept as being able to be at that party, right? But as I say that, I guess I want to ask also, who's been to the awkward party, right? Any young people here just go to a party and be like, oh man, that was awkward. I can't believe they invited them. They're not supposed to be here, right? Even adults experience that too, so don't worry. Where we go and we say, well, I know this person, but who are these people? Who invited them? They're not supposed to be here. And that's where this story finds us here in Luke 14, 7 through 14, is that Jesus is at a dinner party with some Pharisees, or as Luke calls them, the religious leaders and lawyers. And he's talking to them. He's at one of their homes on the Sabbath, so a nice day of rest. And he says to them here, beginning in verse 7, I'll read the first part, as you can see. And he began speaking to them a parable. And he says he noticed, when he noticed how they had been picking out the places of honor at the table, and he said to them, when you are invited by someone to a wedding feast, do not take the place of honor, for someone more distinguished than you may have been invited by them. And he who invited you both will come and say to you, give your place to this man. And then in your disgrace you proceed to occupy the last place. But when you are invited, go and recline at the last place, so that when the one who has invited you comes, he may say to you, friend, move up higher. Then you will have honor in the sight of all who are at the table with you. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. All right, so you're going to say, this is Jesus telling us how to rise in society. Right? This is him telling us, this is how you show everyone how important you are. Well, I assure you, because that was my first pass with Pastor George, and he said, no, that's not what the parable is saying. So let's break it up. What is Jesus trying to tell us? Well, remember, he's at a dinner with the righteous, with the important people, with the Pharisees, the lawyers, the religious leaders, those who make things happen. And he's saying to them, look, you come here and you're so concerned with where you fit in your social circle. You're so concerned with who's more important than whom, instead of, as we'll talk about later, what you're really supposed to be thinking about. That you measure yourself about how you appear with your friends, with your peers, rather than measuring yourself with how the host sees you, or in this instance, how God sees you. You see, it's not about worldly success. It's not about success amongst the people who are like you. Your worth is told to you by God. God's going to put you in your place, and that's the question that Jesus is asking them. Are you willing to be put in your place by God? Or are you more willing to put others in their place? Because you see, this is what we do. If we go on to the next slide here, and I'm going to read from the Message translation because I think they really hit it here. So Luke 14, 12 through 14. There we go. Then he turned to the host. The next time you put on a dinner, don't just invite your friends and family and rich neighbors, the kind of people who will return the favor. Invite some people who never get invited. the misfits from the wrong side of the tracks, you'll be and experience a blessing. They won't be able to return the favor, but the favor will be returned. Oh, how it will be returned at the resurrection of God's people. So he juxtaposes this. He says, look, you come here and you divide yourselves into who gave more money, who said the right things about the law, who said the right things about the Bible to the people who came to him, and you say, well, they gave more than I did, so I shouldn't go up there. Well, they're friends with the pastor, so maybe I'm here, but I know that they only come every now and then, so they're definitely down there, right? So this is where I'm at. I'm going to talk to the people around me. And Jesus says, look, that's what you do, but what you're forgetting is that the feast is more than what's in this house. That you're so concerned with division. You're concerned that I'm a Christian and that they're not a Christian. You're concerned that about the Republicans or the Democrats. You're concerned about who's white collar, blue collar, Protestant, Catholic, pro-life, pro-choice, traditional, progressive. Are they poor? But you're not poor. Are they from here? Are they an immigrant? Are they acceptable? Or are they unacceptable? That's what Jesus is talking to here. We want to put people into categories because it makes ourselves feel better about ourselves. It makes ourselves understand where we fit with our friends, with our coworkers, in our lives. But you see, God's way is radically different. Right before this passage, it says that Jesus healed on the Sabbath. The horror of healing on a day of rest. And he's saying, look, I did this because that man was crying out for help. And that's what he's saying. Look, are you willing to open yourself up and to accept those who the world and you say are unacceptable? Are you willing to understand their need above the division that you have caused? And so, are you willing to be put in your place by God? And this idea of accepting those who have not been accepted, it's not woke. It's not an agenda. It's nothing new. This is being a Christian, is to understand those outside the church and to say, you're welcome at my table and at God's table. Because at God's feast, we are raised to a place of honor by the host, but all are welcome. And it's not just those who look, sound, and act and live like us. For the young people here, it's not about those, and I don't know, this is probably dating me. I don't know if you still you can just eat wherever you want to at the cafeteria. But it's not about just sitting in, these are the people I know. And we don't sit at that table, right? Because that table, they're weird, right? But guess what? I'm standing before you. I was at that weird table, okay? And I was there, and I still, even now in today, I say, well, they got a Trump sticker on their truck. I already know what they think. But I don't know what they think, and I don't know why they have a Trump sticker, and I don't know why this or that, but I'm going to make that choice because it makes me feel better about myself. Right? But God tells us that it's a different way, that we should seek to understand, that we should be accepting. It's sometimes hard to say, but that's I forget the metaphor. It's hard for me to want to invite someone in. It brings me great anxiety to hear that someone in Taylor's family just invites random strangers to parties, to family get-togethers. Like, that's scary for me. And it might be scary for you, right? I don't know what they're going to say. I don't know how they're going to act. What if they curse? What if they have a cigarette during the meal or during the party? That's weird. That's not acceptable. But it's okay. And maybe that, like I said, that is a bridge too far. So maybe something you can do is to go to an ethnic market, is to go to an ethnic restaurant, and not just, some regular chain Mexican restaurant, but an actual ethnic restaurant. Or maybe it's starting a new club, or starting a new activity. Or maybe it's just simply going to talk to someone who isn't like you. You know, because as I've said, God's feast is open. God's love for me, for you, for the neighbor that has 5 cars outside their house but only one works sometimes. It's for those who don't look like us. That is who God's endless love is for. And you might say to yourself, well, Adam, I give to missions, I give to Tree of Hope, I make sure that everything out there is okay, but do you think that that's going to be okay? And I would say no, because that's what Jesus is telling them. Look, it's not about just giving money to missions, to overseas missions, which is good. It's about understanding that the needy are right outside your door. Are you inviting those people into your house and into your life? Our sign says right here, prepare yourself because you're entering the mission field. And that's the truth. That the divisions only seek to make our love have limitations. This is a story that Jesus told, and it is about evangelism. Not evangelism through condemnation or conformity to what makes us comfortable. But it's a humble evangelism where we are told to accept and understand those whom everyone but Jesus tells us are not worthy of acceptance, love, and being welcome. So go out there, stretch yourself a little, and see what comes of it. Let's pray. God, we thank you for opening up your table to us. And we ask that you open up we can open up our table to others. That we can open up our lives to seek to understand those whom we always push to the side. We ask that you give us the strength, the peace, the hope, and the love to show and to tell your story to those who need to hear it. We say these things in your most precious name. Amen.